Hello, everyone. Nigel here with Polluted Mainstream, and I wanted to talk today about the YouTube skeptics and how they are sliding into irrelevancy. Now, despite the title of this video, I actually really like the skeptics because at one time they really red pilled me on race, the LGBTQ problem, and feminism, and how they're all related to Marxism and undermining traditional values. And it's really important that the world knows that, and I thank them for that. And I still watch a lot of skeptic videos, and I'm a big fan of some skeptics like Sargon and Baring. But I do think that they are becoming stagnant, and I wanted to talk about a few reasons why. Now, I watched a video by Sargon, and it was called The Problems with the Skeptic Community. And in that video, he hypothesized, or he basically said his theory on this was the skeptic community is losing traction because it's not doing enough research and people are not looking credible enough. And so that's why people are sort of like, I don't know, the skeptics didn't do enough research. I think I'm going to, tune into the alt-right or something like that. I don't think that's it. What I do think is that the skeptics are lacking some of the things now that actually brought them to popularity. For example, in 2016, when I started being a big fan of the skeptics, was when Donald Trump was running against Hillary. And you could just tell that the mainstream media was not giving you the full story on that one. You could tell that they were shilling for Hill, and, it was just really, it was more obvious than ever before that you could not trust them. So a lot of people, including myself, were driven to alternate media, and Sargon, Dave Cullen, and, a lot of the skeptics were happy to fill that void and to red pill people on the realities. So kudos to them for that. Lots of courage that it took. Now, and for that, actually, now they're being kicked off of YouTube, Twitter, and all the other, sort of lib-run social media. It's kind of funny, actually. And, the funnier part about it is the alt-right is not being kicked off in the same, quantities as the skeptics, for sure. But now I think the skeptics are lacking the courage to go forward with where their ideas would naturally sort of lead them. And I'll tell you about that in a little bit and why I think that is. But let's talk now about what the skeptics are doing now. So you watch skeptic videos now, and with the exceptions of the best out there, like, the best is Sargon. Everybody knows that. And he'll do some hard-hitting stuff. But even he and Undoomed and, the Warskis, they just harp on the same things over and over again. Like, hey, guys, it's time to, roast another dumb feminist bitch. You guys ready? And I'm just like, no, I'm not interested, because the cucks and the beta males and the females who are just easily influenced, they're going to come over to the strongest, most dominant position anyways. So why not just work on that? Why not work on convincing the strong men and women that your ideas are best, instead of just making fun of some retards and teenagers who, parrot the libtard stuff that they hear in their universities. But I think the reason they do it is because they've gotten famous doing it, for one, and they enjoy it, for another. They don't really want to step outside their comfort zone because they know they're so good at roasting the feminists and the LGBTQ people who insist on their pronouns. But if they hadn't noticed, that's not really the issue of the day anymore. I think, most people don't feel threatened by the LGBTQs and the feminists of the world. I think those people are sort of fading into the backwaters of, failed political movements. But what really is important today is race, and I don't think anyone can deny that. Even Sargon, when he's not talking about feminism and, just sort of issues that are his pet issues, he talks a lot about Islam. And the skeptic community will say, oh, Islam's not a race, it's a religion. So, we're not racists, but Islam's a race. Arabs are the ones who you're talking about. Black Muslims, white Muslims, and, Asian Muslims, if there are. They're not exactly, oh yeah, of course there are. They're not the ones who are doing the bombings. They're not the ones who are doing jihads. It's the Arab ones. So don't pretend that it's not a race issue. And I think that's the main lack of courage of the skeptic community, is that, yeah, they're willing to say that Islam's a problem. They're willing to say BLM's a problem, but they're not willing to say that those things are connected to the races that they are tied to. And that's another big thing where people are like, well, where's your courage now? Where's the courage now that you've opened all these doors, but you're not willing to lead us through those doors? And I think for that reason is why they're stagnating, and why they are the gateways to the alt-right, because the alt-right is fully willing to step through those doors and lead everyone through them as well. Another reason I think that the skeptics are stagnating is because of their atheism. Now, this may be a controversial topic, but I think atheism is clearly for Marxists, and I'll do another video on that later. But you can't exactly lead people back to traditional values when you are an atheist yourself. I think they maintain their atheist persona and their contempt for traditional values out of this sort of cool kid mentality. Like they want to be the cool kid on the block. And Sargon even said that most skeptics are like in their 20s. So yeah, they're not going to like be like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian guy and I want to like, get married and have a family. No, they're talking about jerking off to porn and like, they want to fuck all the beautiful bitches in the world and all this stuff like that. They don't care about traditional values yet. So it's hard for them to say, oh, look at all the SJWs, they're wrong. Well, what's right then? And so those are the two reasons I think that the skeptics are stagnating, is that they're afraid to broach the race issue because they don't want to lose popularity, and they're afraid to promote traditional values because they don't want to step into that cool kid, atheist, rebellious type of mentality that they got going on now in their persona, which sells them to like the Gamergate crowd and the youth crowd. So these are the challenges, and I think the church had the same problem. They didn't want to condemn multiculturalism, and they don't want to condemn the degeneration of morality, so they lost their authority, and the same with the skeptics. But I'll make other videos on atheism in the future. Right now I want to talk a little bit about what the skeptics should do to sort of regain their status on the internet. Well, I think there's a lot of skeptics that need to fall away. I think there's a lot of skeptics that are essentially SJWs in disguise. The only reason they're not SJWs is because they're smart enough to know that SJWism is fading and it's becoming a joke. So they don't want to be SJWs, but they really, in fact, are in their heart of hearts. They just don't want to say it. They don't want to look that stupid. And then there's the skeptics who are Christian conservatives and they don't want to say it. So they got to stop fence sitting. They got to come down and actually endorse some values that they think will be helpful to society, or else they're just skeptics. They're just the party of no, like the Republicans were when Obama was in power. They're always, you always say no to everything, but you don't have any ideas of your own. And I think that's part of the stagnation effect that's happening to the skeptics right now. The other thing they could do is to simply stand by their principles and stand for the freedom of people to have free association, which is all the alt-right ever wants to do anyways. The alt-right wants the power to have all-white businesses and all-white communities. And if the skeptics are so about freedom like they say they are, then I don't see why they would stand in the way of that. I don't see why they would even separate themselves from the alt-right at all, except for, again, they don't want to be the uncool people who are like racists or something like that. So skeptics out there, you got to do something. You can't just sit there. You know what I mean? And just like Jim said on The Office, you can't just sit there. You got to do something. So I hope I'm really fans of you guys, and I hope that you guys change it up. See you guys next time.